Alrighty, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well and had a great long weekend. This is going to be the weekly outlook for July 7th to 11th. Let's hop right into exactly what we're looking for coming into this week. Before we do that, let's talk about the key economic events. So, for the red folder news, we don't really have too much this week. We do have FOMC on Wednesday, and then we have some unemployment on Thursday. So, really, no red folder news this week besides the FOMC minutes. As for the charts, let's hop right into exactly what we're looking for on the higher time frames. Before we actually do that, I want to mention I'm also going to start posting more on Twitter, kind of my game plan, a little bit more kind of in depth in the exact levels I'm looking for. So if you want to see what I'm looking for on a day-to-day basis, you can either go through my watch list that I post every single day. That's more of a video, but then I'm also going to be posting charts on my Twitter. So you can find that. It should be the exact same handle as my YouTube. And my other platforms is just going to be JDub Trade. So this is for this coming week. Right now, you can see that all the major indices and futures have hit your all-time highs. This was my last level for the overall markets. What I would like to see now is the reaction that we have off the previous all-time highs being your 6271. If we can maintain above the 6271, we can see the next push higher. If we break back underneath the next levels, is all the way back down in towards our 6200. So let's go on to the ES daily time frame. So as you can see right here for the ES, what we have here is your all-time highs. The all-time highs finally got hit on the ES, which was really our last target. So the SPY, so basically what happened was the Qs hit all-time highs first, then it was followed up by the SPY, and then it was followed up by the NQ. And then the last one to hit your all-time highs in this case was the ES. And we end up finally hitting your all-time highs last week and getting above the all-time high. So now you can see we have multiple touches. What I would like to see now is the hold of your previous all-time highs and use this level of support, which is our 6260 for this continued push back towards the upside. So if the market does want to continue higher and hold, we have to see now the hold of your previous all-time highs for this continuation back towards the upside. What I don't want to see is the break back underneath this level. If we do break back underneath, there's a potential that we could see all the way back down in towards your 6200. So if we want to continue right building up these higher lows in the market, the next higher low is going to occur above our 6270 for this continued push back up and towards our all-time highs now being our 6330. We'll talk about this a little bit more here on Monday. Once we do have the open, you can see we end up dropping here in the after hours or on Thursday once the futures was open. As you can see, the SPY in itself was not open, but the futures market was still open. So for this SPY now, let's go on to the SPY daily time frame. SPY is well above your all-time highs now. What I would like to see is a reaction that we have off your 61250. That is your previous all-time highs level and the level of support. After this big push, I do expect a potential pullback. That will be the next best opportunity. So if we look at the SPY chart, for example, the key levels on SPY is really all the way back down in towards our previous all-time high. So key levels for me is our 61250. At least looking at this from a higher time frame perspective, potentially we could see this pull back down in towards your previous all-time highs level. If you go back onto the 1 hour time frame, my key levels will be our 619, and then we'll also have our 613 marked out here as well. So coming into Monday morning, I want to see the reaction that we have off your 619. If we're not able to hold your 619, the second best area is going to be off your previous all-time high 613 here on the SPY. As for the next charts that we'll have marked out, which is the NQ, this is for this coming week. NQ hit all-time highs last week is now having last week, and now you can see that we're above our 22,840 key level. What I like to see moving forward is the reaction that we have off your previous all-time highs. I like to see NQ maintain above your 22,840 for continuation towards the upside. So for the NQ, similar thesis as the ES, what we like to see now is just a hold above your previous all-time highs. So this is your all-time highs that we have marked out. Now we like to see this level. We also have a down close candle here as well, be used as a retest for continuation towards the upside. So you can see so far for the NQ, now we're building up higher lows. You can see broke above. now continuing higher. This is your retest level for continuation back towards the upside. So for the NQ, key levels I have marked out is our 22,850. This is the level I like to see hold for continuation back up and towards the highs and above. For the QQQ, similar thesis here. What we have marked out is our 545, and now we're breaking above our 552. What we like to see now is a hold of our 552 for a continued push back towards the upside here on the overall markets. Let's go into the next charts that we do have. In this case, what we have is Tesla. Thesis for this coming week, Tesla had delivery numbers last week, and we had the bounce off the key level of support being the 290 on the higher time frames. As for Tesla moving forward, what I'd like to see is the reaction that we have off your 320. That is going to be key. That is going to be the key level on Tesla that has to reclaim if we want to move higher. So as for Tesla, if we look at this on the daily chart, key levels that we have marked out, as you can see, Tesla is more inside of a range compared to the major indices, right? Qs are at all-time highs, Qs and SPY are at all-time highs, whereas Tesla has really been lagging behind. As for last week, we ended up having this push towards the downside after having this robo-taxi event. We also did have delivery numbers on Wednesday that end up pushing the market back towards the upside. Now for Tesla, key levels we're going to have marked out is our 320, also the low of the range, which is our 296. So for Tesla, any sort of upside, it's going to have to reclaim back above our 320 for continuation. If the markets do stay heavy, potentially we could see a little bit more continuation back down in towards our 296 if we can reject off this 320. So that's going to be the key level moving forward. As you can see, multiple touches. 318 is going to be key coming to next week. As for NVIDIA, this is one of my favorite looking charts. NVIDIA continuing to lead the market towards the upside after having a nice retest off the previous all-time highs level. You can see that's where the buyers stepped in. What I'd like to see is NVIDIA maintain above 152.50s for continuation towards the upside. So as you can see, this is your previous all-time highs and now being used as support. So as you can see here, we have multiple touches on NVIDIA. This was your previous all-time highs earlier in 2025. You can see we got above this key level last week, retest, and we're having nice continuation. So on the lower time frames, we end up reclaiming, basically defending our 153, and now we're having this nice pushback towards the upside. Coming into next week, what we'd like to see is the reaction that we have off your 158.50. If we can maintain above this level, we like to see continuation back towards the upside. If we break underneath your 158.50, I'd like to see the reclaim and then a push back towards the upside once again. Let me scroll down here. Next levels that we have is Apple. Strong push on Apple last week after having news on Monday. What I like to see now is this. Now on this name is the reaction that we have off your 215 key level. I would like to see Apple above the 215 and hold for a push towards the 220 and the daily gap level. So for Apple, key levels that we have marked out is going to be your higher time frame points of interest being your 220 and this gap fill. So for Apple, as you can see right here, what we have marked out is our 215. If we can get above your 215, next levels that we have is your 220 on the higher time frames. Apple last week ended up having a nice break of this trend line after breaking plus news as well. You can see we're having a nice rally higher. Now we're right into a key level of resistance being your 215. So now if you can get above your 215 and hold, that's going to push this back towards the upside here, towards the next key levels that we do have on this ticker. As for AMD, AMD pulling back here after having a big push towards the upside. What I like to see on this name is the first dip get bought up on the daily time frame. The only key levels of support on the daily chart is all the way back towards the 128 key level. I would like to see a pullback towards that level or the reclaim back above the 144. So for AMD coming into this week, what I like to see now is really this continued push back towards the upside. So really my only key levels of support on the daily time frame is your 145 and this 127.50. So I either like to see the retest higher low be built off your 127, or it's going to be the reclaim back above your 145, at least on the daily time frame. If you go back onto the 1 hour chart, what I would like to see now is the reclaim back above your 140. If you can reclaim back above your 140, we could be looking for a higher low off this level for this continued push back up and towards your 144. As for Meta, this one recently has hit all-time highs, and now we're having a reaction off that level. What I'd like to see is a reaction that we have now off the area that we broke out from, being the 705. So after hitting your all-time highs last week on Monday and rejecting off of that level, now what I like to see is if you can build up this higher low, maintain above your 705 for this potential kind of cup and handle here on the daily chart. So that's going to be key for Meta coming into next week. We have your 705 marked out. We also have other levels marked out as well, which is just 717. What I like to see, really hold of your 717 for a push higher. It could still potentially come all the way back down in towards your 705. Either way, daily time frame potential cup and handle is forming on this name. As for Amazon breaking out of this consolidation last week and now is basing above the 218 key level. What I like to see on this name is the continuation higher during Prime Week. The hold of your 218 level is going to be key moving forward. So for Amazon, as you can see, breaking outside this consolidation. Now what I like to see is this be used as a retest for a push higher on the daily chart. So Amazon's looking really nice. Plus it does have Prime Week coming up as well. So that is a catalyst where we can push back towards the upside. You can see this is really one of the only tickers that are holding up very nicely, building up these higher lows. Now what I like to see, as long as it maintains above your 218, I like to see this continuation higher. Preferably if we can now break above your 223, we can see this push back up and towards your 230 here as well. So those are the main charts, at least on the tech side, that we're looking for coming into this week. We're just going to be looking for still major dips to get bought up on the higher time frames. That's a plan for the past couple of weeks, and we're going to keep continuing to look for dips to buy as long as that works, right? We're not going to change what's working. So that's what we have coming to next week. We'll talk about this a little bit more come Monday morning. With that being said, I will see you guys all for the pre-market prep on Monday. Take care, everyone. Peace.